Hey, scientists, grab those lab coats and get ready because today we are going to be exploring the physical properties of matter through different measurements, tests, and observations. We started this activity yesterday and today we're going to finish it. But before we get into it, let's go over our essential questions, review our predictions from yesterday, and talk about one of the activities you'll be exploring more in depth today. Now, let's talk about our essential question. Remember, essential questions in science and in different lessons can help us think about what we already know about a topic, and it helps us connect to new ideas that we're going to learn today to help us produce a new thought about the topic. Our essential questions will be focused on our different science topics. So look for keywords. In those keywords, the minute you see them and recognize them, I want you to think, what do I already know about this topic? Once you have that in your mind, you want to look at the question again to see what we're trying to answer today or what are we trying to answer about that topic. It's important to remember that an essential question is like a goal as well. By the end of our science lesson, you should confidently be able to answer the essential question. Let's go over our essential question for today. Let's go over our essential questions for today. Listen to me read them first. What is matter? What are some physical properties of matter that we can measure, test, and observe? We started this experiment yesterday and we will continue it and hopefully be able to answer this question by the end of our matter lessons. Read it with me. What is matter? What are some physical properties of matter that we can measure, test, and observe? The next one, listen to me read it. How does matter behave when placed in water? What if it is stirred into water? How does matter react to a magnet? This one we didn't get to explore too much of yesterday. Today we will get to continue to explore and we will get a chance to see how matter does behave in water and how it reacts to a magnet. So it's important that we make good observations and take notes of those observations today so we can come back and answer this essential question later. The final essential question, I will read it. Listen. How is matter classified? How can we use physical properties to help us classify? This question, again, we started to look at it yesterday a little bit when we got our hands on the different matter objects, but we will continue to explore today. By the end of our lesson, we're looking at these 3 bullet points and being able to come up with an answer in our own words to help answer them. Make sure you're taking good notes and making observations today because those are going to help you create your answers later on. Yesterday, as a class, you guys made a prediction poster. You made different prediction on what you thought was going to happen to the different types of matter and maybe even how to classify the different types of matter. I want you to take some time now to revisit that poster. After you started your observations or got a better idea of the different steps that we are going to take to classify different types of matter and what categories we are going to look at, I want you to talk about your predictions. Is there anything you would change? Is there's anyone's prediction that you agree with now? Pause the video and take time to look at your prediction poster. Once you have talked about it as a class, come back together and we will do a quick activity before you guys have a chance to get exploring. Today, scientists, while you explore it, you're going to look at some more categories that can help classify specific types of matter. One of the categories we're going to look at is if an item that we test is soluble. You guys will be testing with salt, sand, sugar, and cinnamon today, but I thought of something when I heard of this activity. Let's look at that now. Now, we talked about the word soluble, but what does it mean if an item is soluble or has solubility? Well, the example I thought of might be something you guys heard of. Raise your hand if you've ever mixed your own glass of lemonade together. I know I have. One of the things I like to mix into my drinks, especially after I do a workout, is a little Propel packet. You might have seen these before with lemonade. If you've never seen these before, let me show you what it looks like on the inside. Got to get the right spot to open it, so I'm going to tear it open. Now that I have my packet open, it's hard to see inside, so I'll pour a little bit out on my hand so you guys can see. Inside, there's a little bit of powder. Kind of looks like if you've ever had sugar or salt before. It has the same consistency. It's a little bit rough like sand, And it's definitely, even though it's small, definitely solid little particles that we're looking at. Now, I also here have a cup of water. If we wanted to check the solubility of a product, we have to see how it reacts in water. To do that, you guys will use different cups of water. This is just an empty glass of water. And you'll take whatever item you're trying to test and you're going to pour it in and see how it reacts to the water. When I pour my Propel mixture in, it kind of floats around in the water. I can see the little particles. Here, I'll try and hold it up so you guys can see it a little bit better. We can see the little particles floating around. It doesn't look like a clear glass of water. I can even see some chunks on the top. It's looking a little foggy inside. Now, that's not the only way we're going to check solubility. We have to mix up whatever we poured into the water. So I'm going to mix up my Propel a little bit, and let's see what happens. We'll give it a good stir for about 30 seconds. While I'm stirring, I'm going to keep staring at the water to make some observations. I noticed that at the top, there's no more of those big chunks of the Propel powder. And I noticed that although it's still cloudy, it's definitely getting clearer to see. I can see the spoon through it pretty well now. When we're talking about solubility, it's all about what happens to that item. So for us, the Propel packet, when we mixed it into the water. Did the item dissolve, meaning I don't see any more flecks floating around? Or are there still big chunks of the Propel in the water? Well, if I look in here, I see that the water is a little bit cloudy, but there's no more big chunks of Propel on my finger. If I put it in and got big chunks of white like we looked at before, then the item would not be soluble. Because we were able to stir in our Propel and it just comes back out as water now, that tells us that the Propel packet is soluble. You might have done this before with Kool-Aid drinks or even with lemonade. Those are soluble items. You're going to use this as one of the categories to test while you explore today. You will also spend time exploring if an item conducts electricity and if it is also magnetic. While you are exploring, make sure to take your time and make observations. Notice how when I was stirring up my cup to see if it was soluble, I didn't look away. I stared at the cup the whole time and even shared out some of the observations I was making along the way. If you're working with a group, it's always good to share your observations because you might have missed something or your partner may share something that you missed. Good luck exploring today, scientists, and I'll see you guys soon.